much for being with us here today. I did not get a chance to ask Mr. Manzi what our topic is today, so I'm just going to throw it at him, and he can bat it back. Because batting it back is something the Manzi family's been doing lately on the baseball field anyway. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Fabulous, fabulous. Our visit this morning is presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. I have actually had a question that I've wanted to toss out at you because to me it's a fascinating subject, and that is jury selection and how prosecutors and defense attorneys approach it. Because I would guess that there are two pretty radically different approaches that both of you do, you from the prosecution angle, but you've been on the defense side as well in your career. So if you're okay with that, I'd like to ask you about that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So, we've seen jury selection on some movies where, they have computers doing background checks and all sorts of AI-type programming, and that's just not the reality. When we have jury selection, it starts with what the courthouse sends out. They'll request so many random folks from the county to be selected to be summoned in. Some of those folks are filtered out, and then we end up with maybe a third of them actually come for jury selection. Uh-huh. They may be on vacation or they may be excludable from the jury pool. As we're going through the jury selection process, what I'm looking for is people who are going to listen to the judge and follow the law and listen to the facts and use common sense. Mm-hmm. There's really no big science to it. When we do a lot of our initial questions, what we're looking for are folks who, for one reason or another, probably can't sit on a jury and be unbiased. Somebody who may say, hey, look, I have these people in my family who I think were railroaded by the system. I don't trust the system. I'm not going to listen to them. Well, they're probably not going to be able to be fair. Uh-huh. Or, people who say, I have, I'm going to trust the prosecution no matter what they say. I'm going to listen to them. Well, they probably can't be fair either. So those initial questions are really geared towards how do we get folks out of the jury pool who just couldn't be fair. If it's
you're weeding.
We're just weeding them out. And for the most part, nothing nefarious. You have somebody who says, this case involves a sexual assault. I was a victim of sexual assault, or I have a friend who was. I can't be on this jury. I can't be fair. Uh-huh. And we appreciate that honesty. We tell people all the time, that's what we're looking for, is people who are going to be honest. And then you're really just looking for people who are going to be able to, the judge is going to read the law to them. I just want people that are going to listen to the judge and follow the laws the judge gives it to them, not try to decide what they think the law should be on their own. Again, when you're the prosecution, you're looking for the fair trial, that they're going to listen to the law, they're going to listen to the facts, because we want to gain a conviction based upon the evidence, and we want that conviction to stand. We know going through the appellate process, if we're trying to weed out jurors for unlawful reasons, the case is just going to come back anyway, and we don't want that to happen. Yeah. We want that conviction to stand.
The reason the question becomes even more pointed for me is some very high-profile national trials, the one in New York City with Luigi Mangione, the one in Tennessee with the young high school football player who was stabbed to death. And through the jury selection process, we're hearing things like the protesters who are gathering to intimidate one side or another outside of the courtroom. So as the potential jurors are going in, they're being, if not overtly threatened, certainly the behavior toward them is threatening. And that's one thing. Also hearing about the possibility of stealth jurors, which is a term I'd never heard before, can understand what it means very easily. But a stealth juror being somebody who presents themselves one way in the jury selection process, but has a completely different mindset when they get in there, and has as a goal acquittal or conviction.
Oh, and it happens. That's truly a thing. Now, for the vast majority of cases that go to trial, the jurors don't know the people. They're not high-profile cases. We've done so many jury trials here. We bring the jurors in and we say, have you heard about this case at all, and the vast majority of jurors will say, I've never heard about this case. Maybe I heard about it. I was listening to the radio on the way into the courthouse today. They said jury selection was happening, and that's the extent. So, for the vast majority of cases, that's not going to be an issue. I have seen a situation where, a juror was going to try to get on a jury, and this was in another county many years ago. Juror was going to try to get on the jury panel because they didn't like who the prosecutor was, because that prosecutor had prosecuted her son.
Oh.
And the voir dire process was able to weed that out and get her off of the jury. Now, when you get to those, nationally, viewed trials with Mangione up in New York and all of those, that's a much more difficult process because, you're trying to get people who are just going to be fair. That's really what you want. And, you're talking about potential jurors that are, who knows what they're thinking. Maybe they're thinking, I'm going to get on there to convict or to acquit, and they have that idea ahead of time. Or maybe they're thinking about their own selfish interest. Hey, I'm going to get on this jury and write a book and sell it.
We saw that recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's, so that process is important to try to get to people on the jury that can be fair, can be impartial. And I know a lot of protections are put in place when you get to those very high-profile cases.
Yeah, that was that North Carolina case with the doctor, where one of the jurors, or not a juror in this case, but one of the court officials was in the process of writing a book about it.
Yeah, and you just saw a major case get overturned because one person happened to say things that they should not have said, and it spoils the process.
What about the idea of jurors serving on a jury and not sequestered, able to go home and go about their daily life and being exposed to news coverage or to family members who have questions or neighbors or whatever it might be? I don't want to use the word tainted here, but certainly influencing a little bit of what they're thinking about a case.
Oh, and that very well could happen. I've really never seen a situation about that. Most of the people that come in on Monday when they're summoned for jury duty, they probably don't want to be there. They have their jobs, they have their children, they have their obligations. They come there and they kind of hope, I get out of here early and I don't get picked. Mm-hmm. And then when people get picked for jury selection, a lot of people, you can kind of tell they were hoping not to get picked, but now they're picked. And it's a very interesting thing I've seen over my career. The people who are picked, they take it seriously. Mm-hmm. They swear to the judge that they're going to be fair, that they're going to, comply with the duty of being a jury. One of the neat things I've always seen is, when people come in the first day, there's various ways in which they're dressed. A lot of people might come in jeans and a T-shirt or, not really as dressed up as you might think for court. When they get picked for that jury, they come back the next day and they're more dressed up. Uh-huh. And they're paying attention and they're listening to the judge and they're listening to both parties. And I find that juries really take it seriously. And, our judges and all judges, when juries aren't sequestered, will tell them, you can't go home and look up this case. You can't do your own investigation. You can't talk to people about it. And I really feel like people really take that seriously, and they take that obligation of, hey, I may not have wanted to be on this jury, but I'm on it, and I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to do my part well. Mm-hmm. And they do. You'll see them, long days of testimony. They're really paying attention to everything that's going on, and I truly think they want to get to what they believe is the right outcome.
Yeah. It's interesting to me the abilities our judges have because they've got years of experience. They've been prosecutors. They've been defense attorneys. They can pretty much read a jury, I think, pretty well. And through the course of a trial, maybe they're seeing things, but they're certainly always watchful about juror conduct and conduct around the courtroom with other people that are there. And the trials that I have covered down through the years, and it's been a long time since I've done so, it's amazing to me. A judge sees everything.
You got to think.
Amazing.
You got to think the judge is sitting up there on the bench, and he gets to see the whole. He or she gets to see the whole courtroom, and they see what's going on. And when they have a jury come in, they want to be very respectful of the jury's time. They want to be respectful of the process. They don't want it to be something where, they have to call mistrial for some reason, or the jury gets tainted, or something that happens, and they want to make sure that that jury is comfortable to be able to do their job as a jury. And sometimes that means saying, okay, can we stay late today to get some extra testimony? Do we need to leave? People have obligations. You got to get your children off the bus. I remember sitting watching a jury here in Indiana County. They went till 12:15 on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And Judge Martin made sure his job, and he did it very well, made sure, hey, we can come back. We can come back Saturday. We can come back Monday. We can stay, up to you. Our judges really do a fantastic job of getting the jury in there and getting that process done in a way that is as least inconvenient for them as possible.
Yeah, there have been some really high-profile cases here in Indiana County over the last 15, 20 years. And you've been involved in many of those cases. It has to feel pretty comfortable for you going into a courtroom with these veteran judges, even though we've had some judge turnover in the last 5 or 10 years. You know these folks, and you're fairly comfortable to be with them in a courtroom and know that the job is going to be done properly.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at the judges on our bench. You look at our bar association, and there really is this idea of how do we get to the right decision in a case? How do we treat a case right? Unfortunately, sometimes cases just take a long time, and that's just part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
But our judges are going to make sure that the courtroom is run well, it's run properly, that both sides get heard, that they have ample time, whoever they want to present, whenever they want to present within the confines of the law. And they want to make sure that at the end of the day, people may agree with their decision or disagree, but they're really going to take the time and re-review the law and re-review case law and go back over testimony to make sure we get to that right end. And it's really appreciated throughout our Bar Association.
Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi with us this morning, a minute left or so. Just because most people probably realize that a very small percentage of the time that you put in on the job is actually in a courtroom. And the vast majority of it is outside the courtroom in various different venues. I know that you do a lot of events, that you are at a lot of different places, meeting with a lot of different groups. What's on the schedule coming up? Because I know it's a busy time.
Well, it's a busy time in the summertime especially, and I encourage people to check our Facebook page out. We place a lot of that up there. We're going to be going to all the senior centers throughout the county and talking about scams. We've been going to a lot of the schools. With the older kids, we talk about social media and the dangers out there with cell phones and the internet and protecting themselves. With the younger kids, we have McGruff in the office now. We've been going to a lot of the younger kids and talking about stranger danger and bullying, and that's been really received well throughout the county. We're going to have the fair season come up. We're going to be at all the fairs, getting information out there about our crime tip line and our drug task force. So we really do have a lot going on, and if there's any groups out there that want us to come out there and speak on any of the topics that are important to them, please call our office. I love getting out and talking to people because the more crime we can prevent, the better off we all are.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how McGruff wears that trench coat all summer long. It gets hot, but good for him. Good for him. Thanks so much for the visit this morning.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Indiana County District Attorney Bob Manzi with us this morning. It's Indiana in the Morning on WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. Matt in the newsroom coming up, Westwood One Sports Now.